Hello, and welcome to the first episode of Serial Keelah Poprah. Now, I must say the title of this series in such a way, the African way, because if I say it the American way, you two will have a problem. So that is why it is called Serial Keelah Poprah. If you do not understand what it really should sound like if you are American, I really don't know what to tell you. But anyway, at this time, I would like to introduce you to Madam Whipass. Take it away. Why, thank you, announcer. Greatly appreciated. Yes, welcome to episode 1 of Serial Kila Sopapra. Did I say that right? I think I did. Anyway, so this week we are going to talk about BTK because he has been in the news all week just the way he has wanted it to be. A lot of interesting things has been going on since January of this year concerning BTK that has been kept under wraps until this week. So now it was thought that BTK was convicted of 10 murders that he only committed. But this week it's been exposed that there's probably a lot more. For instance, they're looking at two particular cases, one in Oklahoma and one in Missouri. Now, it has something to do with BTK's notes. As if you do not know, BTK was meticulous about his projects. Projects meaning human beings whom he's murdered. But he called them projects because they just weren't human beings to him. And why they're just now finding this out 18 years after his conviction probably has a lot to do with his daughter. So, BTK kept troves of his own writings and article clippings and drawings and all this stuff, which he called the mother lode. And in one of these things, he mentions, and he liked to speak in codes and use codes, something about a project on Bad Laundry Day. Well, in one of those states, a 16-year-old was abducted from her family's laundromat back in 1976, never to be seen again. Now, if you don't know, BTK was into bondage. BTK, bind, torture, kill. There's also about 200 Polaroid pictures of BTK dressed in his victim's lingerie and underwear. He would bind himself up. Sometimes he would hoist himself up in a tree. Sometimes he would bury himself and pretend to be dead for hours. Well, how did he take these pictures all through the 70s and the 80s? Well, BTK, if you ask me, was the very first selfie taker. He used Polaroid cameras, but when you look at the pictures, they only released 5 out of a trove of about 200 Polaroid pictures of him doing this shit. Sometimes it's in the woods, sometimes it's in a hotel, sometimes it's in a barn, sometimes it's in his parents' basement, all types of shit, right? Well, if you look closely at the pictures, there's always a black cord. Now, somebody said, well, Polaroids didn't come with a black cord. I'm not sure, so sure. Maybe it was an accessory you can buy where you can snap a picture yourself. Or either he did something and rigged it up, but he was able to snap his own pictures. Selfies, if you will. So, because of this, they started an investigation into two particular cold cases, one in Oklahoma, one in Missouri. At the time of his arrest, as we see with Rex Heuermann, we saw investigators and several law enforcement agencies descend upon Rex Heuermann's home for a good 12 days. They took a lot of stuff out. They ripped up the tub. They took the pipes from sinks. They massacred the family couch in the living room. They dug up the backyard, everything. But they did not do anything of the such when it came to BTK. Well, you might say, well, maybe that's something that investigators just started doing when they got to Rex. No, because they did the same thing with John Gacy way back in 1978 in Chicago. They brought in bulldozers and they dug up that house. But they didn't do nothing like that concerning BTK. The reason is because BTK told them where they can find his mother load of stuff in the house. Why they trusted him and just said, okay, we'll go look in the drawer, and took all this stuff out. They should have dug up his backyard then. They did not until sometime last week. They dug up a piece of the backyard. They didn't even do the whole backyard. I think they need to excavate and bring out that electronic ground sonar thing where they can detect stuff underneath the surface of the ground and find stuff. But they did this one particular section. And in this one particular section, they found a trove of trinkets from victims. They didn't get specific, but I imagine it could be some ID, it could be clothing. They did find a pair of pantyhose that was knotted in one of his fancy knots and things of that nature. Anyway, so that is connecting him to at least one of those two cold case files. People are clueless in terms of how many victims BTK truly has. Clueless at this point. So, in January, the FBI contacted his daughter, Kerri Rawson, and she has been working closely with law enforcement from Oklahoma, law enforcement from Missouri, and of course the FBI. It took 10 years for Kerri Rawson to come out and talk about her father. She's the only one out of her immediate family, which includes her mother and her brother, who's able to talk about BTK, her dad. And so she's been working closely with them. A few months ago, she had gone to see her father for the first time in 18 years. She says he's really old. He's shrunk. He was 5'11". He's now about 5'2". And he's just a shriveled up old man, physically debilitated in a wheelchair. But she says his mind is sharp as a tack. They initially had a family reunion of sorts. And I can imagine, because I've been reading her book on the other Madam Whip-Ass channel. And we just got finished reading about a 7-day hiking excursion she went on with her dad, her brother and her cousin. And BTK is just being dad, you know? It was a grueling hike for her. And, she had a lot of obstacles to overcome throughout the hike. But her dad was there being supportive and making sure everybody had what they needed and just being a good dad. Uh, Dookie Badass, the announcer, would like to say something to you. Dookie Badass, you must understand. I took a picture of Madam Whipass so that it would be the thumbnail to attract people to these series of videos of Sirio, Keelah, Poprah. Because I know nothing attracts American men more than ass and titties. So I told Madam Whipass, please take a picture of your ass and titties. We will use it as a thumbnail. And all the men and other individuals will come and listen to your video. And that is what I did. It was all my idea. And if you want to blame anyone for it, you must blame me, the announcer. Now back to our regularly scheduled program. Take it away, Madam Whipass. Thank you, announcer. So as I was saying, she had a family reunion of sorts initially after seeing her father for the first time in 18 years. And then she got down to business about these cold cases and questioning him, how many are there really? And BTK, with his right hand, puts up his index finger, and with his left hand, he takes his finger and makes a zero in the air. But the zero doesn't stop. It just keeps going round and round and round and round. So basically, he's telling her it's more than 10. And he ain't saying nothing else because by this time, he knows she's working with investigators and the FBI. So he just completely shut down on her. I bet he could just strangle her. I mean, who wouldn't want to strangle their child who's working with the ops, right? Anyway, so that is where we are at. BTK has garnered the attention to try and take the shine away from Rex Heuermann and, of course, Brian Kohlberger out in Idaho. And it has worked. All last week, everybody was talking about Rex Heuermann. So that is the update on Sirio, Keelah, Poprah. So that I may keep you up to date on what's going on with the going ons. You know what I'm saying? I'll be back with another episode with more developments. And hopefully if StreamYards gets back on their game, I can show you some videos and a whole bunch of information I can present to you. So thank you for stopping by. I appreciate you, Dookie. Kind of like Tyra and Darius. All right. Thank you for stopping by. And I'm going to go now. But guess what? I'm coming right back because I am sitting on my deck. The birds are chirping. People are mowing their lawns. I'm looking at crows. Haven't seen any deer today yet. But I'm coming back with a reading. And yeah, see you in a few. Peace.